Hey everyone, it's your Peacekeeper coming at you with the Operation Dynamo strategy guide. We're going to call it a strategy guide rather than a how-to-play series on it. Operation Dynamo, in case you were wondering, is the Dunkirk campaign, the operation that Wargaming has added in as of the patch of this morning. And it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. It's a good challenge, and if you're not keen on teamwork, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to get through. There are only 3 ships in the game that you can actually use to play it, 2 of which you get for free. The third is the Tier 6 Premium British Destroyer Gallant, and I think it's like $24 US there in that range for the basic package. Those are the only 3 ships that you can use. We're going to talk about those ships and their differences, and then we're going to talk about captain skills for those ships. We'll start off here talking about Anthony. So Anthony is a destroyer that has defensive fire, and this is different from Cyclone, which has smoke, but the trade-off here is that Anthony's anti-aircraft damage per second, its AA DPS, is lower than Cyclone's is. In fact, it has a 5 AA defense rating instead of a 6. And so this ship is really focused on peak anti-aircraft DPS when defensive fire is active, whereas Cyclone is all about the smoke. Anthony also has slightly more hit points. This captain has the survivability expert on it, so that's not a real good comparison direct across, but it does have more HP as I have it set up. And the rate of fire on the main guns is higher than on Cyclone. The gun arcs are a little bit more favorable, so this ship is a little bit more focused on taking out the Schnellboots that come into the match later, and into the operation. And so you're probably wondering, why am I talking about anti-aircraft DPS for this operation? I mean, it would seem kind of contradictory. The last couple ones have involved sinking a lot of ships. This one actually is almost entirely AA focused, and the reason is because the Schnellboots, while there's a lot of them that show up, basically it only takes 2, maybe 3 shells that impact the ship to actually kill it. And so they die really easily, and the actual damage output of a ship isn't nearly as important as AA is, because there's a lot of aircraft in this operation. I want to say it's in the 100 to 120 aircraft on the map by the end of it. And you have, well, it's probably even more than that, but we'll stick to those numbers. And so AA is really important, and you would think at Tier 5, or with 5, Tier 5 with 5 AA defense rating, it's going to be a fight. It is a struggle. The aircraft are only Tier 1, so it's not a huge deal, but AA DPS is important. Now, Cyclone, overall, Cyclone actually has higher AA DPS overall, but it trades off defensive fire for smoke, which is important for keeping the aircraft and Schnellboots from actually attacking the convoy that you're going to be escorting, as well as attacking you. So smoke is important. In fact, the ideal team configuration for this match is a pretty even split between Cyclone and Anthony, and you can throw a Gallant in there every now and then if you want. So those are kind of the options there. Those are the real big differences. Cyclone's gunnery is, it feels more accurate to me, but the rate of fire is lower and the turret traverse is lower. So Cyclone is really good for taking out aircraft overall, while Anthony is better at taking out the Schnellboots that come up. Now, Gallant looks to be, and I'm using the Wikipedia stats, so don't crucify me here, but Gallant looks to be a good split between the two. You ditch defensive fire, but you get smoke, and you have the guns of Anthony, plus a little bit better torpedoes. So you have options there on how you want to set up your team, your division. You've got 7 slots in the division like all the other operations, and it's best to have a solid amount of communication. If you're going to do this as pure randoms, you're just going to jump in by yourself, I highly recommend that you communicate. We're going to talk more about the strategy when we get into the match, but let's go over upgrades real quick. Because this match, the Schnellboots are so easy to kill, there's no reason to spec for the main battery on these ships for the operation. I definitely recommend taking Auxiliary Armaments Mod 1 to increase the survivability of your anti-aircraft mounts. It's absolutely critical that your guys' AA stays in the fight as long as possible. And in that same token, AA Guns Mod 2 is also very important for pushing that anti-aircraft bubble out an additional 20%. That pushes it out to 2.6k, and 2.6k is not a lot, and you'll see in this match it gets a little hairy if you don't pay attention to what's going on. This last slot, you can pick any of these three. I personally take Propulsion Systems Mod 1 on all my destroyers because losing my engine is a much bigger detriment than losing my steering gears, and these ships just don't get set on fire or flooded often enough to justify taking Damage Control Systems Mod 1. So that's the upgrade setup. Let's talk about captain skills real quick. So when you get these captains, they're going to come by default with Priority Target, Last Stand, Basic Firing Training, and Advanced Firing Training. They have 19 points, so the remainder is up to you on how you want to spend them. On Cyclone, I've taken Jack of all trades so that my smoke cycles faster. I've taken Expert Marksman to deal with the lack of turret traverse speed on Cyclone. I've taken Smokescreen Expert to increase the radius of the smoke by 20%, and last but not least, I've taken Superintendent for the extra smoke and speed boost charge. On Anthony, I've taken Preventative Maintenance, Jack of all trades, and Preventative Maintenance is just going to reduce the incapacitation rate of your modules by 30%. Jack of all trades for the decrease in reload time of your consumables. Survivability Expert for additional hit points, so 350 per tier, so 350 times 5, whatever that comes out to be. And again, Superintendent. And this gives you the additional AA charge, which is very important in this actual operation. I don't have Gallant, so I won't speculate on what captain skills would be useful, but I suspect that something more in line with Cyclones would be the appropriate choice. But you do get 19-point captains by default with this, so make sure to stack up all of your Commander XP stuff because you do get free Commander XP for completing this. Enough of me babbling on about stuff in port. Let's go look at what the actual operation is. So there's a couple of really important things to remember about this map. You'll see it as soon as we actually load in. We've stacked this up with STW members. We got Nuck from Super Test that joined us as well as one random BJW52. And you can see we got a pretty heavy mix of Cyclones. Well, I guess we're about as even as you can be for an odd number of ships. Now, looking at the minimap right away, the first thing that should pop up into your mind is we have a giant red area and a smaller red area. Those are sea mines, and if you go into that area, you will die. There is absolutely no way through those mines to live. They are simply too heavily packed, and they are simply too lethal for you to make it through any section of the red. Also, when you get close to them, you're going to see it's going to sound like you're the collision alarm for if you're running into an island, and it's going to pop up a little red indicator with a picture of a mine in it. And that means you're getting too close. If you go too close, you will actually see the mines floating in the water, and then they will explode with you on top of it. Also, the little island there in the E7 area, you cannot go to the east of it. You cannot go to the right of that. You have to go through that tiny channel. If you go to the right of it, you will get overrun by Schnellboots and you will be sunk. So you have to go through the channel. Now, the first part of this is going to the port. As you go towards the port, you're going to have to come to a stop inside the circle or less than 10 knots, either going forward or reversed, in order to pick up crew. You can carry 500 initially. As soon as the convoy moves out, it jumps up to 750 to allow you to pick up any ships. When they sink, they will drop the people that they pick up. And so you will be able to pick up more later, but you're going to have to do... you're going to have to make do with what you can get at this first part at 500. Now, you'll see that these two fighter squadrons are floating up above you. You need to shoot these down as soon as possible. You also need to lay smoke going into the cap. And the reason for this is when you are spotted by those aircraft, these shore batteries will fire at you. And while they don't do a whole lot of damage, every time that they hit you, they will take off 20 survivors off of your crew if you are carrying. Like right now, I'm not carrying any, so aside from getting started on fire and taking a little bit of damage, it's not going to do much in the way of you know, getting rid of survivors because I don't have any. But once you're in the circle, you'll start to see the number go down inside the circle. You'll start to see the embarking thing will come up. If you see the little icon that looks like a car speedometer and it's in the red, you have to slow down. Once you get to that 10 knot range, you'll start picking people up, and then they will embark. They embark pretty quickly, so that's not a huge issue, but you have to sit here and wait for a while because of the convoy has to all get in there. Also, parks, avoid following parks if at all possible, and you'll see in a bit. Nuck and I and Risky decided that we were going to try and block him in just for the grins of it. We've been playing this a couple of times, and it's kind of frustrating. People will follow him into the minefield, which is where he ends up going, and obviously you can imagine how that goes. Also, you can see that there are several objectives that have to be completed in order to get to the end of this and get 5 stars. You have to evacuate a minimum of 3,000 soldiers just to complete it. You need 7,000 of them in order to get 5 stars. You also have to shoot down 80 torpedo or dive bombers, the combination of both. So 80 total bombers, as well as removing 8 full squadrons from fighter squadrons from the map. So 8 full fighter squadrons, 80 dive bombers and torpedo bombers, 7,000 soldiers. You also need to get a minimum of 7 of the convoy ships to the rally point at the end, all the way up in the north. And that is harder than it looks. And the final task that you need in order to get the 5 stars is you have to sink 25 of the Schnellboots. So we're already up to 20 aircraft, and that's because we have been focusing our fire. But now you can see the Schnellboots come into play. You'll see how quickly they go down. So one shell hit there almost killed that, so 2 will definitely kill them. And they go down quick, and there's the icon for the mines, FYI. They go down relatively quick, but more importantly, they do launch torpedoes forward. 2 very, very fast torpedoes. There you can see a set. They are extremely hard to dodge if you're not paying attention. If you are, it's not usually too big of a deal. You just need to pay attention. Now, the hard part about this operation is the fact that you are micromanaging your position on the map so that you don't run into the mines. You're micromanaging shooting down aircraft, and you're micromanaging keeping your fleet alive as best as possible. And it definitely takes a level of coordination. The hard part of this is not getting so far ahead of the convoy that the Schnellboots that come from behind don't get and kill them before you can get back to them. And as you can see here, I'm laying another smoke. Well, we're laying a smoke screen here so that the convoy can advance. Unfortunately, the convoy advances a little bit further to the east than where I laid this. So the vast majority of the convoy is going to be out in the open, which is a little frustrating, but you work with what you got, right? And more Schnellboots will come, I promise you. So as you get closer and closer to this horn here, what's going to happen is you're going to get Schnellboots from the east, you're going to get aircraft attacking, and then you will almost always get a Schnellboot group that comes from behind. Now, in this case, we didn't get one, if I remember correctly, but you do have to pay attention. And right now, it's all dive bombers. Eventually, you will also get torpedo bombers that come in as well. And part of the coordination that you need to do is all the Cyclones need to be chatting with each other, discussing when they're going to use their smoke, as well as the Anthonys need to be discussing when they're going to use their defensive fire. So in this case, we had enough of our Anthonys had their defensive fire up that we were able to use just one and save the other ones while they were on cooldown. And of course, my smoke is the one that was being used to defend, and I am just getting smoked by those shore batteries. So yeah, as we get closer and closer, what's going to happen is when we get closer to the entrance of this channel is there is going to be a flight of 6 sets of torpedo bombers in addition to Schnellboot attacks. You definitely need to be cautious of that. And we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here with the convoy, so we need to slow down, and that's what I'm saying on TeamSpeak. We micromanage this whole thing through TeamSpeak, and that helped out a lot. But if you're not in, a clan, you can't take advantage of that. Do what you can through the chat. Also, there's no friendly fire in this that's enabled, so if you accidentally ram somebody, you accidentally torpedo somebody, you accidentally shoot somebody, it's really not that big of a deal. So Blackbeard is laying a smoke. He's laying smoke coming up so that our fleet, as they continue to advance, they will go ahead and continue to stay in smoke. We're going to focus down these Schnellboots as fast as we can so that we can focus on what's more important. You can see we've got 11 of 25 of them taken care of. We've got 34 of our 80 bombers taken care of, and we've gotten 3 out of our 8 fighter squadrons have been shot down. We got more coming. Here's more. So the aircraft, you can see how important AA is in this, and I think having this many Cyclones is actually beneficial. Like I said, the AA DPS overall is really nice. I'm not sure that the Anthony's DPS for their defensive fire is really all that useful. It does make a slight difference. It does cause the panic effect, but ultimately, it's such a short duration that it's hard to use. There's that short battery with its laser-like accuracy hit me again, and it managed to avoid getting hit. So we're down to 420 of our 500 survivors. Now we're getting into this channel. As we get into this channel, yes, that was a Expanse reference there. Remember the Cant, as in the Canterbury. When we get into this channel, what's going to happen is there's going to be a group of Schnellboots that comes from the east and a group of Schnellboots that comes along the west, right along the edge of the minefield. This is going to happen in addition to an air attack that involves the Royal Air Force, which hasn't come onto the map yet, but you will see them come on up at the northwest there. So here's our 6th group of torpedo bombers that are coming up. You can see 2, 3 now, 4, and the 5 and 6 will show up a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and we need to focus on them, but more importantly, we need our Cyclone that's way up front not to get so far up there. But we've got smoke that's being laid up there. That's good. We've got the convoy as a whole is doing a pretty good job of sticking together, which is important in this. So focus on aircraft, focus them down. If you got a group that's shooting at one group, focus them down, get rid of them, focus on the next closest, keep doing this until you can go further. And I don't know where the other group went. Usually there's a group of, that's supposed to be 6 that showed up. I don't know where the other 2 went. Maybe they're going to show up a little bit later. So here's the Schnellboot attack that comes with this. Again, 1 from the east, and you've got 1 group that's from the west as well. And definitely need to pay attention to that. And our Cyclone is way up there, like he's making a beeline for it. And the hardest part, this is by far the hardest part of this entire thing. We've not lost a single ship, which is super nice. However, the problem is that it is so easy to get focused on the Schnellboots or on aircraft that you forget that you're surrounded on both sides by minefields. You gotta pay attention to where you're at on the mini-map. And there's the Schnellboots coming from the left. And now as you crest out the outside of this channel, what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot more Schnellboots that come. There's also going to be, you can see the RAF fighters, they're grouping up on the west side of the map at the edge of the minefield in the north. Those guys are going to fly north, come to the east, and then come back down south to kind of help you out. We got more Schnellboots behind us now. We're going to transition to those. If you're at the back of your convoy, or at the convoy, I guess I should say, you definitely need to be paying attention to that. I'm also going to pop smoke, if I remember correctly here, so that, yep, there's the smoke, so that our fleet is covered as they come through this part. There's only 2 Schnellboots in the back, and we've got some dive bombers and torpedo bombers coming from the, well, they were coming from the southeast. They are now almost directly east of us. Again, pay attention to your surroundings. Do not get lost in the minefield. Do not get lost in that minefield. It will be a bad day, I promise you. So the RAF guys are finally coming down to try and help. This is where the last group of fighters are going to show up. And if you don't take out the minimum number now, you can't get that 5 stars. So whatever you have left, there's 6 squads on the board. You got to take out, in our case, we have to take out at least 4 of them. And you'll see we actually coordinate this pretty well. We've got 57 of our 80 aircraft down. We got only 4 more fighter squadrons to go, 4 more of the torpedo boats, the Schnellboots, and we still got all 10 of our convoy aircraft, which is nothing short of a friggin' miracle at this point. So we're shooting down aircraft. We're going to get into the thick of this over here. And the more RAF aircraft that you manage to survive, because they are really, really, really weak, the more of them that you allow to survive or that you have survived, the better. So we've lost a ship. Unfortunately, we lost Larina, or a Larina, I guess. And so that has put the soldiers in the water. You can see they die at about 3 per second. There's our last fighter squadron. So you want to get over there and you want to get in there as fast as you can to pick up as many survivors as you can. Especially if you've got open spots on board your ship. Like for me, I've got I've got lots of room for them. The more of these people you save, the more likely it is you're to get to the end with all of the required number of the 7,000 that you need to get the 5th star. So I'm full up now, and we've got we saved a number of our RAF guys, so that's good news. We've got a lot of smoke here covering us, which is also good. We just need to shoot down a lot more bombers. Well, heck, we don't even need to shoot down a lot more. We just need to shoot down 8 more. We've actually been doing pretty good on this so far. 75, 80. Okay, so we are done with the aircraft now. We no longer need to shoot down aircraft. We need 4 Schnellboots, and we need to save as many ships as we can. We can lose 2 more, but we would prefer not to lose that many. This last part of this is going to be a massive Schnellboot raid. I mean, you get a lot of them. They're going to come from directly ahead, basically at the cap. Those are torpedo bombers. At the final point, not the cap, the rally point. And then they're going to come from the east as well. You're going to get attacked by air. There's just a lot of stuff that's going to happen in this last part, and you really need to coordinate and appropriately split your fire, because if you don't, what's going to happen is you're going to start losing ships real fast. And these Schnellboots, they go down fast, but you gotta coordinate, because you can see just how many of them there are. And we've got aircraft coming in as well, so we need smoke, we just, in general, you need to do a lot. These Schnellboots are really hard to hit with torpedoes, but I would have gotten him with that one. Anywho, back onto this Schnellboot here, and you can see they are dropping fast because we're coordinating well. We still have 9 of our ships. We've completed almost all the tasks, but we have more aircraft and more Schnellboots incoming. And it's getting awfully hairy. I'm not gonna lie, the chat at this point was going wild. Yeah, definitely stressful. Again, you just need to do your best to mix match as you can. And we lost one of our Cyclones, unfortunately, but we are still well above the 7,000 number. We're sinking Schnellboots like it's going out of style. We've got all of our aircraft that we need to shot down, but we need to shoot down as many of them as we can so that we can, keep as many of our ships alive as we can. So we're shooting them down. Shooting them down. Ooh, gets kind of scary here. Once this wave is done, though, there isn't another attack wave after this. So once this is over, that's kind of the end of the match. Basically, at that point, all you need to do is successfully get all of your guys to the rally point and then offload them. And you can see here that we lost yet another ship in that last attack, which is really unfortunate. But on the upside, it looks like we're not going to lose any more. We definitely got a lot of aircraft kills. You can see how this match is going, and that's basically the end of it. There shouldn't be anything else left after that last attack. So all we have to do now is go into the cap and sit and wait. and until the end of the match, which should be coming here shortly. We've laid smoke just in case. Really not necessary at this point. Once that last attack wave is done, there's really no point in trying to defend things because the match is basically over. But that's the Dunkirk campaign. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of coordination to complete this with the 5 stars. It's really easy to get 1 or 2 stars. It's reasonably difficult to get anything higher than that. So I hope this gives you guys a really good idea of how to actually, make it through this campaign. Again, the big things, the big takeaways here are going to be 1, map awareness and avoiding the minefields at all costs. 2, coordinating your deployment of consumables, smoke, and defensive fire between the ships that are involved. 3, focusing down the Schnellboots as they come in. 4, making sure that you get your anti-aircraft kills in. That is by far the hardest part of this. You really have to be coordinating with each other in order to take advantage of that. I mean, in order to make that, it's very easy not to get that. So now that the match is over, we should get the end screen here pretty shortly. Yep, okay, so all the ships came back, and the end screen here. I'm not going to really go over the usual details. You can see there we got all 5 of them. Those are the 5 secondary tasks that you have to complete to get the 5 stars. And the rest of this, the actual rewards for completing it really aren't that useful. 184,000 credits, and then you end up losing a bunch for the repair and rearm. Also, these ships, you have to wait 30 minutes to play that ship again or pay 75,000 credits. So if you're not running premium, paying the 75,000 might result in loss of income. Anyway, I'm your Peacekeeper. I hope this helps you guys out. Let me know down in the comments if it does. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.